Welcome students in our today's online English class. Today I am going to teach you the fourth chapter of your Moments book. The name of the chapter is In the Kingdom of Fools. So let's start reading the chapter. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They didn't want to run things like other kings. So they decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night till their fields and run their businesses only after dark and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. Students, there was a kingdom of fools. King and the minister were idiot. People worked at night and sleep in the day there. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. Once a guru and disciple came to this kingdom of fools. They were amazed what they saw around them. They roamed around the town till evening, but no one was there. Suddenly, whole town woke up and people started their nightly business. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dudu. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dudu. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So, students, one another thing happened there. They became astonished. The guru and his disciple were hungry. Now, shops were open. They wanted to purchase some food to eat. They were amazed to see that everything cost the same, only one dudu. Even you can purchase a bunch of banana or a measure of rice. They all cost dudu. It cost a dudu, means a single coin that is called taka. The guru and his disciple had plenty of food that day. They could buy the food they wanted for a rupee. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. There is no place for us. Let's go, he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap there. All he wanted was good, cheap food. Okay. When they cooked and eaten their food, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools. He thought it is dangerous to live there. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place because everything is cheap there. Means everything cost a low. Everything cost low. The Guru said, they are all fools. This won't last very long and you can't tell what they will do to you next. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The Guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want. I am going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a straight side scared bull. The Guru said to his disciple that this is a kingdom of fools. We should have to leave this place as soon as possible. But the disciple ignored the advice of his Guru. He stayed on. He used to eat plenty of food like bananas, ghee, and rice, wheat every day. And now he became fat like a bull. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in, and as he was carrying out his load, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for the injustice." Students, here sneaked in means entered in the house secretly. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He made a hole in the wall and entered in the house secretly. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall collapsed and killed the thief on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained that the merchant was to blame because he should have to build a strong wall, and he was asking for the compensation for the family. The king said, "Justice will be done. Don't worry," and at once summoned the owner of the house. The king summoned the owner of the house at once. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What's your name?" "Such and such." "Your Highness, were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" Burgled means robbed. "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." The accused pleads for guilty. "Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. You have to punish. We have to punish you." "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him." "Who is that?" "My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby." When merchant arrived, then king asked to him whether he was at house when the thief entered secretly in his house and robbed. He answered that he was there when he entered in his house and the wall fell on him. The king said that you would be punished for this act. The owner said that the mason was responsible for the collapse of the wall. The wall was built in his father's time and he was an old man now and he knew where he lives. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. This is a phrase that means completely. "You there, did you build this wall, man's wall, in his father's time?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "What kind of a wall is this that you built?" "It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. You have to punish We have to punish you by death. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, please listen to me before you give me your orders. It's true, I built this wall and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jiggling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives. Now, the king ordered to send his messenger to bring the mason who built the wall. They brought him in the court completely. The king ordered to punish him by death. The mason said that a dancing girl distracted his attention and he pleaded for his life. Here, execution means punishment by death. The king ordered to give the punishment of death to him. He pleaded that the dancing girl distracted his attention on while he was building the wall. He further said that the dancing girl was going up and down the street that day with the anklet jingling on her feet. So he could not set his mind on the wall when he was building. You are right, the case deepens. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer wherever she is. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So, you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him, so he built a bad wall. Now, the case deepens. The king called the dancing girl. She was an old woman now, and she came trembling to the court. The king inquired all the things to her. She accepted that she was moving here and there on the street that day, and she distracted the mind of that young mason. It had it has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. Now the king said to her that she is responsible for the murder of that poor thief. So she will be punished for it. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said she would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault. The dancing girl thought for a minute and she remembered and said to the king that she was moving here and there because she had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for her. He made many excuses. That was when the mason saw me. It's not my fault, she pleaded, that the goldsmith was responsible. He made her come daily because he did not make her jewelry. And the same day she walked a dozen times on the same street. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing The evidence, we have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. The king called the goldsmith in his court, thinking that they got the real culprit. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Bailiffs means the law officers of king. Accusation means claim about wrong done. So, king's bailiffs searched him. He was hiding in the corner of his shop when he heard the accusation. Accusation means the claim of wrong done against him. He had his own story to tell. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. The goldsmith was called in and said I couldn't make her jewelry because the rich merchant forced me to make jewelry first for the wedding in his house. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? Make her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of this wall, which has now fallen on the innocent man and killed him. Can you name him? Now the king asked to the merchant who kept you finishing, who kept you engaged in your work so that you made the poor woman walk up and down, which distracted the bricklayer's attention, which made a mess, means which made a trouble to his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him. Can you tell us the name of that man? The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now, justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant when he was rudely summoned back to the court. He arrived crying, it wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent. The goldsmith named the merchant. He was the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. When he was rudely come back to court, he was crying. He said, it was not me who ordered the jewelry. He was my father. Now he is dead. I am innocent. Please pity on me. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It's true your father is the true murderer. He is dead. But somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. Decisively means final decision. Now the king consulted his ministers and he gave his final decision. He said, you have inherited everything from your father, his property as well as his sins. You were the root cause of the crime, so you must die. And he ordered a new stake to be made, ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now the king ordered to make a new stake to be made by ready for the execution. But the stake was too big for the thin merchant to be executed. He became worried about it. What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. Then the king sent his messengers to find out a person that is fat enough to hang on the stake. They made a search for a man who could fit the stake. They found the disciple, a proper man who could fit the stake. The disciple was now a fat man who was feeding himself for months on bananas, rice, and wheat and ghee. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it is the royal decree. Royal decree means order of the king or a royal order. That we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they said, and cried him to the place of execution, carried him to the place of the execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. Scrap is difficult situation. The disciple was crying that he was innocent. He remembered the words of his guru while he was waiting for the death. He prayed to his guru to help him. His guru was a wise man. He could see the past, present, and the future. He came to save his disciple. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him, O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. The guru came and scolded his disciple and went to the king and said, O wisest king, who is greater, the guru or disciple? The king answered, the guru is greater, without any doubt. Then the guru asked the king to put him to the stake first and his disciple next. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor, me first. You brought me here first. Put me to death first, not him. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, why do you want to die? We choose him because we needed a fat man for the stake. You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to the death first, replied the guru. Why? There is some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. Now, there is a quarrel between the guru and the disciple to be put first to stake. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, "Why do you want to die?" He asked the guru, "What is the mystery here? Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you?" asked the guru. The king gave him his solemn word. The guru took him aside out of the servant's earshoot and whispered to him, "Do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It had never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We were sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now, keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember." The guru asked, "Will you promise me to put me to death if I tell you the mystery?" The king gave him solemn words. The guru took the king aside and whispered to him that stake belonged to the god of justice. It is due. Whoever dies in it first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time, so he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. "It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to other in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again." "Holy men do not tell lies," he said, and the minister agreed. Now the king was thinking deeply. The king did not want to lose the kingdom in the next round of life. He postponed the execution for the next time. Next day, he revealed the secret to his minister. He said, "Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again." His minister agreed. So he told the executioners, "We will send the criminals tonight. When the first man come to you, put him to death first, then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake." The king told the executioners that they would send some criminal that night. "When they will come to you, put them to death without any mistake." That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and, as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and his disciple, disguised themselves, and came before the loyal servants. They have taken them to the stake. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. When the people of the city saw their dead bodies, they panicked. They identified them as the king and the ministers. The city was in confusion. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. "We people need a king and a minister," said someone. Others agreed. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the guru. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister, on the condition that they could change all the old laws. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a dudu. It became like an other place. People of the city mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom because they were worried for the future of the kingdom. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their future king and minister. First, they did not agree, but after a lot of prayers, they agreed on the condition that they could change all the older laws. From the from then on, they changed the system of the kingdom. They would again be day and night would again be night. And the cost of the things became different from that day. And the place, the kingdom became the place like other places of the earth. So that's all for the day.